everybody. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Zoom. Welcome to our Wednesday webinar. My name is Via Williams. I am the Director of Growth for the Ben Kinney Companies, and almost every single Wednesday at noon Pacific time, we are right here to our local audience here on Zoom and to the Pivot Shift Ahead page. And we do our Wednesday webinars targeted towards real estate agents. And today we're actually kind of adding in brokerage leadership to that mix because we've got the amazingly talented Leann Harris with us today. And we do tactical, in the trenches, boots on the ground webinars on what you can use today, news you can use today. The goal of our Wednesday webinars is that you walk away from these with 1 to 3 things you can implement within an hour after the webinar, right? So this isn't the aerial view, high level strategy stuff. No, this is literally stuff you can take away right away after the webinars. Not that we don't go there, because I think smart people kind of naturally kind of go there a little bit. So today I am super excited to talk about the #1 topic that I get asked. It's the #1 topic when I say, what are you struggling with? What's your biggest challenge? And any of the coaching I've done, it is always the same answer, and it is time management. And it's especially good timing now because we did a 2-hour business planning clinic last week where we walked everybody through how to plan their 2021. And then at last week's Wednesday webinar, Wendy Papasan and I spent an hour deep diving on the GPS, or the 135 we call it, and the 411. And that's really focused on kind of setting your goals and your priorities and your strategies, right? And then the 411 is your annual goal, your monthly goal, and your weekly goals. And to me, the logical next step to that was the day itself. And so many people, I think, struggle with clarity on what that perfect day actually has to look like. You know, they have this sense like they get blocked because they can't even time block. They're just not sure. And, you know, I would argue that that's probably some clarity with your priorities and clarity with your goals might be needed if that's the case. So I searched high and low, and I actually mean that. I really did search high and low because it was important to me that I interview people that are actually living it, not just saying it and not just teaching it, but living it. And I had to make sure. And so these 3 people not only are really good teachers and speakers on time management, they're actually living it every day. And I think that's really important. Before we get into our content and I introduce our amazingly talented panelists, I have a present for you. And the present that I have for you is, hold on, let me just check. I am showing myself frozen. Are we on Facebook Live? Can anyone tell me?
Yes, we are.
We are. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Because I am showing myself frozen on there. So I just wanted to make sure that we were good. I have a present for you. I'm going to post it. I'll post this video. I'll email it out to our Zoom attendees, and I'll post it on the Pivot Shift Ahead page. Have any of you guys seen the absolutely moving and breathtaking footage of Dan Grieb guiding the first Down syndrome athlete to finish and complete an Ironman? He did it, I think it was 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. And it's one of the most hopeful, inspirational messages of the year. In a year that has had so many interesting surprises, I think Dan Grieb, talking to the father of a Down syndrome child, and not a child, he's a man, and saying, look, you've raised your son, you give me 17 hours and I'm going to do this for him and change his life. And he did. And it made the Today Show, it made all sorts of things. Dan Grieb has agreed to come on and let me interview him and talk to us about the 1% better method they used and what the whole story. And so usually we have webinars, we call them Wednesday webinars, Next week, just because of Thanksgiving, we're actually going to do that on Tuesday. So April Murphy, Jay Papasan, James Shaw, the whole group is letting us live cast that on this group. So that's going to be Tuesday at 11. And you won't want to miss it. This is a really good one to bring significant others. And if you have kids home that aren't homeschooling at that time, it's so inspirational and such a needed message. I will post the video of this when we're done today, and so that you can watch the video in preparation for that. And it will just, it'll choke you up. It's really, really cool. So that's my gift to you. And that's going to be Tuesday at 11 instead of Wednesday at noon, our normal time. But on to today. My people. All right. So the perfect day. we have it's such a great panel today because it's a really good mix of people. So starting with Leann Harris. Leann Harris is the leader of leaders. She is a team leader in Portland, Oregon, works closely with Cody Gibson. And she is the regional director of United Home Groups, I think 2 regions. Is that right, Leann?
Yeah, Texas and Northwest.
Perfect. Texas and Northwest. She coaches agents all day, every day. I mean, Leann is in the trenches. So for all of you watching who are in market center leadership, maybe your branch managers, team leaders, productivity coaches, or what have you, Leann's got a lot of, really great things for you today. If you aspire to be, I think it might be interesting for you to kind of see Leann and I talk about what that day looks like, because it can be a little different. And I wanted to incorporate that because I've invited my team leaders on today, because I think they need this too. So my team leaders are all watching today. More importantly, though, Leann, agents are more important than us. For the Wednesday webinar, they are. So more importantly, yeah, I mean, it's all about them, right? It's all about them. We have Richard Schulman and Kris Shook. So Richard Schulman, we've known each other for quite a few years, Richard, and just got an incredible, I've watched him grow his business, and it's been really, really inspiring. He's going to do about 160 million in volume. And Richard, I think you said that's about 150 units. Is that right?
175 or so.
Sorry about that. I got it mixed up. I got it the opposite. In the Los Angeles area, right? And and you've got a team there. How long have you been doing real estate, Richard?
Almost 17 years, and this is my 14th at KW.
Got it. And how many, can you kind of tell us about your team briefly, just who's on it, how many people? And I think you guys have an investor specialty. I think that might be interesting too.
Yeah, so the team is 5 full-time admin plus an outside TC plus an outside coach. We're very heavy on coaching and training. We're also very heavy on labor availability to our agents. I think that's a real key driver in our results. Right now we have 10 agents. 8 of those agents have been on the team more than a year in a sales capacity. All 8 of those will do over $10 million in sales, which I'm really proud of. That was our goal, was to get every working agent to be making 6 figures. So hitting 10 million should net you, thereabouts or above. We'll have a few agents crest 20 million this year. So really excited for that. And the 2 that did not hit it were first year, but we're actually pretty close. We almost hit everyone. So really excited for next year. We did have an investor specialty. It kind of disappeared this year. We used to sell, probably 2 or more investment properties a month. I mean, we're a relatively low unit count for a lot of the people we've had on these calls. But I expect that when our tenant restrictions ease and some things level out, that we'll probably go back to being very heavy on the investor side.
Yeah. My audio just got weird. I don't know what's happening. 175 units is not low. I just don't think that's low anywhere. I think that's pretty amazing. So,
relatively low.
And it's actually not even relatively low. but I appreciate your humility. That's what matters. You have a great business, and I'm proud of you. And I'm glad you're on. You're one of my favorite guests. I also call Richard one of the funniest men in real estate. He's really funny.
That's fair. Can we just point out, Via, that I won one segment of a script off on this call. I just wanted that to be mentioned.
You know what? We're going to do another script off for you because you asked. We're going to do another script off. We'll do that in December, and our script offs were so much fun. You and Mike Perna, we need to bring the band together again. I know. It was good. It was close because we had a couple of them. It was good.
Yeah.
We'll do that again. I like to keep those fresh, because the objections change a little bit, as we go on with the market. Yeah. And last but very much not least, Kris Shook. Kris Shook is one of my own agents, meaning he's in one of the brokerages that I lead. He leads Place Tacoma, Ben Kinney team in Tacoma. And Kris, you guys are going to do about 50 million this year. Mm-hmm. Besides your amazingly rad and awesome wife, tell us about the rest of your team.
Certainly. So we have 3 full-time admin here in the office, and then 1 VA, that's the Brivity VA, that supports the 3 admin staff. And then we have 6 agents that include my wife and I total on the team.
Yeah. And Kris, tell us a little bit about how long you've been in real estate.
I've been in the real estate industry going on 19 years. 7 of those years I was a lender and ran a lending office, and then the remaining part of it's been in real estate. And I've been a part of KW now for 6 years here at the office. Yeah.
Got it. I forgot to ask you how long, Leann, but we don't need to dwell on years. We don't need to dwell on that, right? We can just let him guess. Let's just let him guess, Leann. I've only done it 5 years. What?
What? I mean, really, I've been in real estate for over 20 years now. It's bizarre. Yeah. It's bizarre.
I mean, you look like you're 25, so that's physically impossible. There you go. Okay. So I am super excited to dive into this. And Richard, if it's okay, I'd like to start with you. And I'd like to start with what your daily schedule is. Just kind of walk us through what it is. I know that you have a little bit of a different schedule on Mondays as you do the other days. So maybe kind of walk us through the differences. And then we'll kind of I'm going to have Kris do it and then Leann do it. And then we'll kind of deep dive into the whys behind it and what works, what doesn't, and all that. But let's just start out so that everybody has a clear baseline of what it looks like for all of you guys. So Richard, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks. Our Mondays are a little bit different, so I'll kind of differentiate. And everything changed in March with COVID and stay at home, and I presume everything will change again. So my day starts around 6:45 when a 3-year-old starts hitting me in the face repeatedly. And that's how I sort of get my day going. I did want to point out that I think that your morning habit really begins the night before. So depending on when you go to bed, what your nighttime routine is, and what kind of quality and level of sleep that you get is really going to dictate your morning routine. So, my morning routine is I'm usually up with the kids sometime around 7. I used to have to get them to school at 8. Now they start school at 9. So I have a lot more time in the morning. I sort of set up my day that I have a few things I have to get done before our morning call, and then a few things I have to get done before our noon calls. I don't know how much detail you're going to go on each part of that, but first thing in the morning, I want to get all my personal stuff done. Obviously, shower, get dressed, get my hair, just the way I want it to be. And then, thanks, Leann. And then get downstairs, have breakfast. And then I have my 8:45 call. I get all of my work ready to go before the call. And we have our 8:45 team call on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then after that, from 8:45 till noon, I will work on just the 2 things. On Mondays, I have our calls at 9 to 9:30, so it's a little bit different. Do you want me to go over everything in detail, Via? Or
I kind of want you to touch. Is that my audio, or can you hear that?
It must be you.
That is the weirdest thing. All right, let me. It must be me. That is the weirdest thing. I'd like you to touch on your inbox zero. I think it's fascinating how you use your inbox as your actual kind of productivity tool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was concerned when we talked about this, I was concerned I don't have a very rigorously time blocked day. And I think that's important for me, at least for a couple of reasons. One, I think generally the type of people who are good at selling real estate are probably not good at time blocking in a really strict sense, like 10 to 10:30. Leann's going to probably say something totally different and embarrass me.
Me and I talked about that yesterday.
Okay, good. All right. So, I'm not 10 to 10:30, 10:35 to 10:45 type of thing. I have certain things that need to get done before noon. My benchmark is to get all of my work done before noon so I can go on appointments after noon. So this call starting at noon, I have a showing at 2. So that's everything's, relaxed the rest of the day for me after this. So everything runs in my world through either my inbox. I use Gmail, nothing fancy. If I get a text message, I email it to myself. If I have a task, I email it to myself. I am in production, so any of my offers, my showings, my escrows, my listings, they're all represented in a folder by an email. So everything in my world has at least one email that exists in my inbox first thing in the morning. And then I spend the first part of my day going through my inbox top to bottom to get to inbox zero. So when I jumped on this call, I had one thing in my inbox to do, which will take me some effort to do. I'll probably do tonight after prime time when I can just sit down and focus on it. But I work through that top to bottom, and I'll try to clear my inbox at least 2 or 3 times a day. And that way I really just stay on top of everything. Something that Gary said in February, which I think we all sort of knew or we'd heard before, buyers will hire the first agent they talk to about 75% of the time. 75% of buyers pick their buyer's agent based on the first significant interaction, right? Not because of how good they were or their team or their software or anything else, right? All that mattered was that you were first to the lead. So I just know that in operating for 17 years in real estate, I don't think I'm good at open houses or listings or anything like that. I just know that every day for 17 years, I've cleaned out my inbox and hit all my contacts. So that's the inbox is the first part. And then the second part was my contacts. So I have a hot sheet. So every day I have a certain number of people I have to call. So like, let's say via you call me and I have to follow up with you on Friday. So Friday morning pops up via Williams, call you up, right? So I have that every day and I have to clear that as well. So I get that to 0 every day. I get my inbox to 0 every day by noon. On Mondays, our team focuses more on nurture leads because calling nurture leads sucks. You guys can admit that. It's okay. Calling your low quality leads is not fun. Chris likes it, I know. Everyone else out there doesn't like it. But it's okay to acknowledge it's not fun to do. It's just part of the job and getting comfortable with that. And so we actually made a really rigorous, if I'm going too long, you just cut me off, it's fine. Every Monday we made a rigorous schedule. And it took us about 2 years as a team to put this into place, was that every Monday we'd meet in the office in person, and it was a full day of prospecting. Unless you had a $2 million listing and that was the only day you could meet, we were in the office all day. Monday, 5-6 hours of outbound prospecting, calling the nurturers, calling the Bs, calling the As. And if you do that, 2 things happen. 1, you don't have to nurture prospect the rest of the week, which is great. And then 2, if you do your Monday right, you really load up the rest of your week with appointments. Because as we know, I know it's not a lead gen call, but the point of all this is to make appointments to meet people face-to-face or virtually in this world. So if you do that really well on Monday, everything else is easier or necessary. Can I say that here?
Yeah, you can say that here. Hey, I do want to dive into some of this.
Okay,
I don't know why my audio is really bad. I don't know why. Sorry about that. I do want to dive into some of this. Let's go to Kris, though, for his daily thing, and then we're going to come back to that because you have some nuggets in there. Kris, what does your daily schedule look like?
So pretty similar for me, similar to Richard's there, but I believe in what he said that, the nighttime habit, it starts the night before. I spend a little bit of time before I go to bed every single night, taking a look at my calendar for the next day, making sure that everything's lined up, making sure if I'm missing anything. I also make sure that anything that I didn't accomplish that day gets pushed forward to the next day or something later on. But when my day starts the next day, somewhat similar. I have a 2.5-year-old that likes to wake up early as well. Don't get quite kicked in the face, but I completely understand that. But before the gym shut down, for me, I'm an avid, I have to start my morning out in some sort of an exercise routine. So I wake up at 5:20. I'm in the gym by 6. I'm back home just after 7 o'clock. I get ready for work. I'm to the office by about 7:50. I get my day ready. I have my 8:15 admin call with my admin team. And then we have our 8:30 team huddle with the rest of the sales team. And then by 9 o'clock, we have a game plan as a team, and we're all doing some form of lead generation and lead follow-up between 9 and 12. So same type of thing. We want to get everything done by 12 so that I leave 12 on. So what we say in our world is everything looks the same from 9 to 12. It looks the same every single day. And then from 12 on should look different every single day. We should be on appointments, open houses, if we can do those, right? Showings, those types of things. So very similar structure that Richard has there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Leann, let's talk about your perfect day as a leader, as a brokerage leader.
Yeah. So, for me personally, I start every day with meditation, and that wasn't always something that I did. And I can always feel when my life is off just a little bit. So I always start the morning with like a quiet moment where these guys, Kris, I love that you go to the gym. I've never been a gym girl. And man, I'm telling you, I probably should get out energy so I don't dance for you guys like that in the future. But yeah, so for me, that's just clearing my mind from the day before. And I love what Richard said, where he said that your day starts the night before. And it does for me too. I always get into like, what does my schedule say? I'm a 0 inbox person as well. I definitely, I can't leave with untied stuff. I just stay until it's finished. The other thing is that if I have a lead follow-up, and this is just for me personally, but I'm going to go into the leader side of it, is that if I have a lead follow-up, I actually add that as a 15-minute appointment on a future date. So if I have a lead follow-up that has to happen on a Tuesday or whatever, I'm going to add that as an appointment, because what I know is I kept running out of time and there was no time for me, and I was working 12-hour days. And so I got to a place where I was like, I have appointments during that time. And that was my lead follow-up. So just to get into like a perfect day, and Via, I'll let you kind of, move me into that place when you're ready. But for me, I know that I don't have kids at home anymore like Richard does. My kids are in their 20s. They're in New York. They're flying, they're wherever they are in the world. It's why I have New York in the background, because of my son Hudson. He lives there. And, I don't have pets, which I told Via about yesterday. So I don't have any responsibility anymore. I'm a grown-up girl that gets to just lollygag around the world if I want to. But what I realized was that one of the things that I wanted back a couple years ago was I really wanted to fit things into 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day or less, and ideally 8 hours. And oh, by the way, I'd like to sleep 8 hours. So I do now. And what I do is I say, I'm just going to win the day. And I don't get too crazy about it being too locked in, but I am crazy about check boxes and making sure that I've hit those things. And Via's going to share with you what I call my perfect day.
I'll do it right now. Yeah, let's dive into it. Let me share that right now. Maybe not. Hold on. It is definitely a fun day.
Perfect day.
I'm just going to leave it at that. Here we go.
So the perfect day can be, it can be for leaders and it can be for realtors as well. But I just want to be able to fill out lines. And I told Via about this yesterday is the reason why I set this. And I say, hey, there's a goal of 4 appointments a day is not to get too crazy. But if you have to work your 10 hours because you didn't hit your appointments and you know that that's for your future self, well, then put in the hours. But if you get it done in 4 hours, go home. Go look at the view off your deck. Go play with your dogs, play with your kids, do whatever. I'm not a big hour person. I want it to feel good, and that you're doing life and that you get to fund your perfect life like we've always talked about. So I like just activities. And in this situation where I've set 4 appointments for team leaders or leaders of organization, or, Kris and Richard, if you guys were hiring people for your team, like maybe that's, one of your leaders is setting up appointments for future buyers agents, whatever that might look like, they want to be having those conversations. The reality of it is we know we don't have appointments every day. And we know that sometimes we have to invent appointments. And so for realtors and for leadership, I've shared this with them too, is that for realtors, I just say, create 4 CMAs. Act like you're going on a listing appointment. I don't care what you're doing. Act like you're going to go on a listing appointment, drive out to that house, knock on the door. If they're there, great. If they're not, that's okay. Leave it with that handwritten note. You drop off a CMA that says, hey, I was in the neighborhood. I'm your local neighborhood expert. This is probably a little bit quick version because I haven't seen the inside of your house. But I am your local neighborhood expert. I'd love to get in contact with you. I started this about 4 years ago with the Kristen Cole team, and I did it with a brand new agent that had never had business. And he had $5 million in his first year as an expansion agent in Florida. And when I say $5 million, you have to understand that the average price point was $185,000 in that area.
Wow.
That's a lot of volume by just knocking on doors and dropping off a quick and dirty CMA. So I'll stop there, Via, because I know
no, I think we should keep going. This is great. And we'll go back to the guys in a minute, but that right there, that is gold. I mean, that's really, really great. I can't think of a better use of time if you're a real estate agent, especially now, you guys, especially now, all of us need to be sourcing off-market listings. I mean, that's brilliant. So for a team leader or someone that's in a brokerage position, these are setting 4 appointments. That's the big bulk of it, right?
Yeah, so I mean, we are in a different time right now because we definitely want to be really respectful of space and distance and masking and preventing the coronavirus from spreading. And for leadership, what I used to share with them about going on 4 appointments is, if it was a Tuesday, I would tell them to go to broker tour. If it was, they didn't get in their appointments for the week, I tell them to go to open houses on Sundays and go meet realtors. Because if you can't get face-to-face with them, and they won't give you an appointment, then go to them, go where they're at, right? Right. So in this particular situation, to get the 4 appointments, the other thing that I've been doing is we create these little boxes. And because we're in the Rona, I have it delivered with a delivery service. They charge me $5 a delivery. I send an MREA or something else that I know about that person. Maybe
That's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That's a book, and it's kind of a blueprint how to do real estate, written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan.
Yes. I have a lot of people that reach out to me about how to do investments too on the Airbnb platform. Woo! I love it. So I definitely will send them the MREI, if agents have that. I don't know if you got your blue book back there, Via.
Probably.
So I send that to them and I say, hey, here's a gift from me. I'd love to talk to you more about it. I'm going to be on Zoom between this time and this time every Tuesday and Thursday. Come visit me. So we have a couple different things that are going on. So people will just pop in there and they're like, thank you so much for the book. And then that's all they'll really say, but at least we get a face-to-face. And we do count it as an appointment because I'm starting to get to know them. And I know that they're, that they've got gratitude.
Yeah. And going down here, what I appreciate about this, because I've used this and my team leaders have used this. And what I appreciate about this is that when you're in your lead gen bunker and you're doing a power hour, and Richard and Kris, I'd love you to jump in and get your thoughts on this. But when you're doing your power hour, it's almost better if you're not. I don't like it when people update their CRM in progress, right? I like to have the stack of calls, stay in the flow, trick and stretch things down, and then come back after the power hour and enter everything into the CRM. So I love that you can just jot a name down and then you can go back afterwards. Richard or Kris, do you guys have any thoughts on that? Do you guys kind of update CRM as you're calling?
I'm old school. This is me lead generating this morning right here. Yeah, so exactly. And then I can't read my own handwriting, and so that's the part I struggle with. So
I feel that.
I do it the other way, but a lot of my agents, I'll just be making the call, and then, I always teach my agents when the phone's dialing, it's like 40 seconds to dial to a voicemail. You have 40 seconds, presumably you're not going to get back-to-back answers and you can enter your data then. But I don't stop to do a CMA or an MLS search or anything like that. Anything like that, I'll make a note on. But if it's just okay, spoke to Leann, she's not looking till spring, I'll type that in, reschedule a call back. But if Kris says, I want a CMA at my house, I say, great, I'm going to circle back to that later on.
Well, there's no right or wrong. I appreciate that. My comment is that I think that for a lot of agents, it's best if they can turn off electronics for a while, not have the temptation of notifications, and use pen and paper. Like Kris, I'm seeing your chicken scratches. I do the same thing. I mean, I'm on my phone, which is an electronic, but I have no notifications on my phone. If I have my computer up, there's too many distractions up there. That's my only comment. So Leann, I appreciate this for those of us that have ADD, or maybe we think we do, that this is, we can just write it down when we're in the moment. I really like that.
The other part is, Via, that you and I talked about yesterday is the psychology behind our brains, and that there's a lot of salespeople out there learn like I do. They learn maybe not you, Via, because I think that you went to an Ivy League school or something out there. You're brilliant, but it's we have audio, visual, and kinesthetic in order for it to stick in our brain. You know what I mean? Or for us to be interested in it, we actually look for that tactile thing to keep us getting feeling like we're playing a game every day. And so you can talk to me all day long, but I'm not picking it up. And we talked about, even Ben Kinney, he reads a book while he's listening to it on audio as he's taking notes with a pen. And the reason why is because that audio, visual, kinesthetic sticks it all together. So if you're lead generating and you're able to write it down and you're able to see the success of filling out a piece of paper, you've now hit the 3 learning styles that actually help you want to play the game more like a video game. Mm-hmm. And so you stay in it. You're like, I got to finish my piece of paper. So.
Yeah, no, totally. I totally get that. So, okay. So we've gone through, this was great, you guys. We've gone through all of your kind of days. Everyone here has a sense of what those days look like. There's some variations. It typically is on a Monday or a Friday. I personally think the best day for a real estate agent to take off is on a Wednesday. And the only reason I've always said that, I always have my team take off Wednesdays, is that Mondays are pivotal days. Mondays are follow-up days. I front-loaded my week. Richard, very similar to you. I love your no appointment Mondays. I think that's fascinating. I was sort of the opposite. I'm going to rethink my way of thoughts because I see what you're doing there. I mean, you're just front loading your lead gen. You're front loading really all the tough stuff, which is I'm a big advocate of. So I love that. I actually, on the flip side, I always sort of succumbed to a, Monday suck, so to speak. And I put my night appointments on Mondays if I was going to have them. So I actually tried to kind of overload myself so that the rest of the week was a little bit better. But with that said, there's a lot of people watching right now that are like, this is great, I'm going to do it. And deep down in the back recesses of their head, but deep down in the back recesses of their head, they're like, I'm really not going to follow through with this. This sounds great. I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to try it again. And it's going to last like a week, if it even lasts that long. So I kind of want to dive into, the origin of this. Like how did you guys all get started as being Jedi masters in following a time block? Did it come naturally to you? If it did, tell me how you think and kind of borrow some of your brain. If it didn't come naturally to you, how did you kind of work through that initial strain of creating this really tough habit? Because it is the number one topic that people struggle with. So how do you guys do it? Kris Shook, is this natural to you? How do you do it? Help us, oh Jedi.
Sure. So I don't know if it comes natural, because as a teenager, I was absolutely horrible at this. So I think some point, I don't know when it happened, I realized that as I structured my day and as I planned my day, and I created this routine in my life, that I felt like things were easier, like my day was easier. I didn't run into that not to say that it's none of us have a perfect day. I know we were talking about that, right? We dream of a perfect day, but in reality, does that really happen? But if you create those habits, you create that mindset, you create that structure or routine in your life, over time, it's going to pay off. I think what happens is that we as humans, we naturally give up on things too easy, right? If we start a diet and we, day 3, we look in the mirror and we don't see any changes, we automatically think that the diet's not working, or we work out. It's the compounding effect, right? Over a long period of time that we see the results. And I think if you can get past that 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or heck, even to 3 to 6 months, and you continually do that, you're going to create that routine. You're going to see, right, those results and how that helps. And so I think that's what propelled me, or where I found, and it's been about 20 years, maybe even longer, that I've created routines in my life that stick through today that I can't get out of. My routines are solid. I can't get out of them.
Talk to us about, you told me a great story yesterday.
Sure.
Talk to us about how you think getting out of bed in the morning is kind of the correlation to everything.
So I get challenged. I enjoy going to the gym. That's just something I've done it ever since I was about 13 years old.
That right there, you alienated 90% of our audience. Don't worry about it. No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
I find that I have to do it first thing in the morning. I can't do it in the afternoon. I can't do it in the evening. There's no time. I have kids. I have a busy work schedule. Zero time. So the only time that I can go is to get up at 5:20 in the morning. I am not a big 5:20 in the morning person, right? And so when the alarm goes off at 5:20 and it's dark outside and it's raining and it's cold, I do not want to get out of bed. Trust me at all. But what happens is that there's a feeling that I get when I work out, and there's a feeling that I get when I'm done working out. That for most of you, I'm sure you've had that feeling before. So I have this mindset that if I don't accomplish that, I'm going to be really upset with myself, because of the mornings that I have missed the gym, or I decided to sleep in, or I had an excuse to sleep in, I wake back up a little later and I'm pissed off at myself. I have this feeling of anger, like, dang it, I didn't go to the gym, right? And it's just so when I have those mornings when I don't want to get up, I just get in that mindset of, how am I going to feel if I don't get up and go? And how do I feel when I do it? And that's all of a sudden then that part of me gets them good, fine. And the, sheets come up and I get out of bed and I start my day, because it's so true. Because when I'm done with that workout, I feel like I can conquer the day, right? The endorphins that you get, the energy that you get, you feel like the day, you could just like plow through the rest of the day. The same thing I apply to lead generation. So with lead generation, I don't know anyone who comes skipping into work every single day, super excited about getting on the phones and making conversations. None of us like to. However, it's our job. It's the main part of our business. And so the same mindset that I get. And in fact, I just had a conversation with a new agent who joined our team. And she goes, I'm in a great mood today. And I said, yeah, I noticed that. And she said, yeah, because I've had all these great conversations lately. And I said, yeah, because you've been picking up the telephone and calling people, right? She says, yeah. And I go, remember that feeling. Remember that feeling that you're having right now. I go, because there's going to be moments that you're going to be, I don't know if I want to get on the phone, or I don't know if I want to lead generate this morning. So again, tweak the mindset a little bit and recall exactly how you feel right now, that energy that you have and how excited you are that you had great conversations, and apply that when you're feeling like I don't want to pick up the telephone. And that's the mindset right there.
You know, Kris, I'm so glad you shared that, because to me, they are so correlated in that you do not often see results from either one for about 90 days.
Correct.
So it's hard to discipline yourself in that 90-day stretch when you don't see it or feel the results. I mean, sometimes you can, but typically these are urgent, but they're important, but not urgent things. You know, there's no real deadline, you know, there's no, you don't have to do them every day. Except for that if you don't, you're going to feel it in 90 days. So I love that. Richard, is this natural to you? I mean, how did you kind of get so adherent to a schedule?
Well, first of all, I'd say it's not natural to me. And I think most people, I think I kind of mentioned before, if you know, the type of personality that generally is going to succeed in real estate sales is not someone who's going to have a rigorous schedule. Actually, when we interview people, I love people who are athletes or who are really into going to the gym, because it's one of the most difficult routine activities to have. So, Kris, if you ever want a job here in LA, just let me know.
I love LA.
Our price point is fantastic. But I think it's, you know, and this, by the way, this is the whole thing. Like, if you can solve this, Via and everyone listening, like, if you can solve this, everything else doesn't matter, right? You don't need a good listing presentation. If you can solve this little topic right here and just set a schedule and put a good work effort in every day, everything else is fine. I think it really comes to, I think you have to start at the end goal here. So I'll maybe challenge you a little bit, Kris. I think that you like the feeling of working out, but I think in your head, you really have a vision of, I want to be in a certain level of shape. Or you go to the gym and you see someone who's a little, you know, more ripped or whatever it is. You say, I want to be that, or I want to deadlift or bench a certain amount. And I think somewhere inside you have that goal. And I think for me and probably everyone, I think I have a really clear goal of where I want to be at the end, you know, the end point or what I'm aiming for. And if you're really clear on your goal and you really love that goal, then you work towards that goal. So, you know, much like our morning routine starts the night before, all of our work that we don't like doing, all the prospecting we don't like doing, it all is because there's a goal at the end of the day. And so where did it come from? I don't know. I would not organize, I'm really disorganized. I have a lot of staff. You know, my wife's a bookkeeper, thank God. Otherwise, I'd be in a lot of trouble. My mom was a bookkeeper too, so it's like really got lucky there. I've never paid a bill in my life. I would not know how to. But I realized that about myself, and I know where I want to be at the end of the day. So I built systems to solve all those problems. And to kind of reference what you mentioned about Dan Grieve is the 1% better. I think that's also mentioned a lot in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think I've just been trying to get a little bit better every day for my 17 years in real estate. And when I started, I was a mess. There was no, you know, apparently at least 3 of us have been in real estate for quite a while. 17 years ago, there weren't webinars. I had like 10 minutes of training a week. Now it's easy. Right now you can get like, you know, 1 million hours of YouTube on training stuff. But so I think I've just been working slowly every day to kind of optimize. And then you realize, I don't know, one day you waste 3 hours with a bad client and you realize, okay, here are the warning signs. I'm not going to waste my time on that bad client. Or you start calling people and you realize, okay, people who say these phrases are not buyers or sellers of real estate. And eventually you just waste enough of your own time and you decide it's not part of my end goal. So, you know, 1% better. I'm taking paper notes too. I require my team to take paper notes. How do you actuate this? Well, 1, I would business plan and I would figure out where you really want to be at the end of the day. And 2 is I would pick, you know, one thing, that's the book, right? Pick one thing that is really going to be the next thing that helps you. For a lot of people, it's probably a fixed bedtime. And if you're good at a fixed bedtime, it's probably, you know, one activity in the morning that's going to get you squared away in your day. For me and my team, you know, I told you this yesterday, some days I don't need to be out of bed. My kids can get ready for school on their own, more or less. Some days I just want to sleep in all day, but I have to be like on camera at 8:45 with my team and have something interesting to talk about. So I don't know. That was a long answer to maybe the question you asked. But
you hit on it. You finally got there. I was waiting for both of you. It's accountability. I mean, nothing will get you out of bed in the morning like having a staff. I mean, that is the ultimate, and a family to support. I mean, it's really the ultimate level of accountability. Before we get to you, Leann, I left you for last because I'm going to have you think about this while I say this. I want to talk about you personally, and then the agents, what you see in agents. So that's why I wanted to kind of have you go last. But if you guys have not read Atomic Habits by James Clear, it is in my top 10 nonfiction, self-help / business books of all time. I'm reading it again. It's an amazing book. And I was watching one of the news stories on this Dan Grebe story. I've been really transfixed by this Dan Grebe story because I've watched Dan. I've known Dan for years, and I've watched him personally transform himself. And now I've watched him impact the world with what he did personally. And that's a theme that I'm really interested in is when you put your oxygen mask on first, like what happens to the world around you, right? It actually turns out that it's not selfish. It's the opposite of selfish. It's fascinating to me. But I was watching the dad of the athlete that Dan guided, and he was saying that when he started this process, before that he'd ever even, when they thought about doing a triathlon, he couldn't even swim the length of a pool. And they were like 1% better every day. Every day we get 1% better. And then I don't know the time elapsing that happened. Then he went on to swim, what is it? What do you swim in an Ironman? I don't even know. Mile and a half.
2.5 miles, I think.
Crazy.
Way too much is the answer.
Yeah, way too much. I'm with you on that, Richard. But 1% better every day. And I think it's hard to get up in the morning to do that when you don't feel that every day. You don't really feel 1% every day, right? I mean, in probably 90-day increments is when a lot of this stuff starts coming to fruition. So what do you do during that 90 days to stay motivated? Leann, what do you do? Has this come naturally to you?
I love when people talk about moving away from pain to pleasure, and that there's not a lot of the population that moves towards pleasure. We wait until we get in a lot of pain. But I think for me, I really draw my childhood pain. I, first of all, am allergic to being poor because I already went there. Been there, done it, not going to do it again. So I know that if I take, and this was a John Maxwell quote, he said, you take the same tool and you chop down the same tree every single day until that tree falls. And he did this and I swear it anchored on me. You take the same axe, same tree. And I was like, I'm in, man. And so that was part of it where, yes, I've heard these great speakers, but also I just know I'm never going to live like I lived growing up. And I think even into my 20s and 30s as being a single mom and struggling a lot with I had 3 kids. One of them was my foster child adopted kid that, she's older than my other kids going off to U of O, and then she got her master's. And of course now, I got college bills, and I'm in my early 40s. I'm like, what am I doing right now? And you're just kind of broke. And well, it was probably my late 30s, but you really start to understand that there is that motivation. There is that accountability for your children. Of course, there's also accountability to you and your inner child of who you dreamt of becoming and who you want to be every day when you show up. And I remember being little and telling my mom, I'm going to live in New York City in a skyrise. I'm going to have a beautiful view and everything's going to be white in my house. Turns out I live in Portland. I have a great view and everything's white in my house. I don't know. I dreamt of this as a little kid, But I think that is my motivation, is that I'm not going back there. So it is a pain for me, but it's a far away pain. And today I move constantly towards my next pleasure. And I think what also happens when you get to a certain level and you are an investor and you do have your investment accounts going and all those things, you start wondering, I used to think about material things and now I don't know what I'm going for. And there is a time that you almost get into this lag where you're like, what am I shooting for? My kids are gone, my dogs are gone. What am I doing here? And all of a sudden, that's when my nonprofit got formed. And all of a sudden I started helping others, so you just kind of evolve too. And I think people always think their big why is stagnant. It's not. It evolves. Now my goal is, how do all three of my kids start becoming investors in real estate, and they better buy a house pretty soon, and my daughter better be a total rock star female leader, so like those become my next goals.
All your big why is, I tell everybody, is it's what's going to get you up in the morning for 90 days despite seeing results. It can be buying a dress. It can be changing the world. It doesn't really matter. It's completely changing. Like, it does change, and it should change. And it's really whatever you can latch onto mentally to get you out of bed at 5:20 in the morning or whatever you need to do.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you see, Leann? How do you see your agents that you coach and that are highly successful in your teams and your market centers? How do you see them kind of Jedi mind trick themselves into adhering to a time block schedule?
I think a lot of them, do remind me of Richard and Kris. They come to the table of doing exactly what they're supposed to do every single day. They have their big whys. It's all the stuff that we've been talking about today. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more important to talk about too, that mid-level agent that thinks that they want an assistant for the first time. And they know they want all this stuff. And what I would say to those people is, it really is about the same tool to the same tree every day until you chop it down. And don't get scared of that mundane same thing day in and day out, because that's what success is built from. And until they get that in their mind, they actually won't embrace getting the perfect day going or time blocking going. They want to still be a little bit squirrely. And I challenge those people to think about what your future is going to look like in 20 years. What's going to look like if this, when the market changes, what is it going to look like? I really do try to take them back to pain, because they're just not prepared to move towards pleasure. And I don't know. I mean, I know one of my dear friends is on this call right now, and she always says, make them cry. And I'm like, well, sometimes you got to get back to that spot, right? That is like, here, what makes me cry and keeps me up at night? That's why you put a schedule in place. Okay, great.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm coaching someone and if we get to a point where they choke up, I'm always like, perfect, we've hit it. I always can tell that where we've hit the why that they need, because that's really the choke point. That sounds bad. But that's the point where, I mean, if your voice is catching when you're saying something out loud, that's it. Journal it right away. That you've hit it. You've hit a moment on that, right? I've always said time management's a myth, and I still hold to it. And I really hold to it even more talking to you guys today. This is about priority management. This is not about time management. This is about priority, and I would say energy management as well, right? Because all of you guys are crystal clear on your most important things for your health. Kris, for you, it's working out every morning. And, for most of us in our businesses, it's lead generating. And the commonality I'm seeing is you do that first. All of you do that first, right? You kind of eat the frog first. What do you guys do? I've had a lot of questions I'm reading on Zoom. What do you guys do for contacts? So do you have any productivity hacks or time management hacks? I'd like to start with you, Richard, because you're kind of the inbox guy. What do you do with your contacts?
Nicest thing you've ever said to me, Via. Thank you. I think like what I said before is like, I don't want to have 8 things to do, right? I have a hot sheet of hot sheet, and everyone should have this, right? You should have a list of people to call every day. If I call Kris and he says, call me next week a reminder pops up, Tuesday morning, call Kris, right? So that's a hot sheet. You don't have that, just, start there, right? That's your thing for tomorrow. And then everything else I run through the inbox. And I know that if I touch everyone, I learned all these things that, like family reunion, an offensive call is better than a defensive call. So there's nothing better than just keeping it really simple, right? Keep it simple, and everything's there at once. As far as hacks for contacts, I don't really think of it in terms of hacks. It just seems so like obvious to me. I don't think there's like a trick to doing it, but I think you should eat the frog. I was struggling to find that expression yesterday. We were on the phone. It's like, okay, I have a hot sheet, and what I do with my hot sheet? I start at the top and I go to the bottom, right? And in my inbox, I start at the top and I go to the bottom, right? And that's all you have to do. Sometimes you're like trying to cherry pick the easy ones and you just leave all the hard ones for later. Like, yeah, sometimes you have a project that needs an hour of time, put that to the side. But I just start at the top of the contacts and work my way down until I get to 0. There's no secret. It's boring. You do it every day. You finish by 12 and then you do appointments. So
Yeah.
Sorry if there wasn't a very nuanced answer, but
I actually have an answer for it. I have, and I've had this for years, 4 things that my team has to do every single time they land on a contact. They're not allowed to land on, in our case, it's Brivity, but any CRM you use. Number 1, they cannot ever have a new tag on them, ever. And they have to be tagged with our appropriate tags that we have. Number 2, there always has to be a task or a to-do scheduled. Always, you cannot leave that contact without scheduling some, even if it's a year in advance, it doesn't matter. Number 3, everybody has to have some kind of a home search on. Now, if they're a seller and they're going to be there forever, that's just a monthly home market report, right? But there's some kind of a home search scheduled. If you've never talked to them before, you just make it up based on what they looked at the first time, right? And then number 4, there has to be a contact attempt and or notes from the contact. You're just not allowed to leave the contact that way. That's, I think, the best way to scrub any type of a database, whether it's an address book or whatever you're using. It doesn't matter what you're using, because it gets overwhelming if you have like thousands in there. Just tackle that one at a time every time you're in it with people. The other thing I would say, Richard, the master, is you go down that list and you do not cherry pick and you do not edit. You just make yourself go down the list, period, end of story. I think that's huge. We will send that out. I'm getting a couple people asking. I'm happy to send that out to everybody, the 4 things that we do for a database. So lastly, we have a couple more minutes left. What would you guys say? There's a whole bunch of agents. I love this time of year. There's a whole bunch of agents right now watching or listening to this in their car, and they've planned for 2021 and they're kind of getting motivated. They're getting psyched. They're like, okay, this is great. I'm going to kind of roll into 21 hot, right? I'm going to roll in hot. I'm going to start this now, because we all know a habit takes about 66 days to form. By the way, I love James Clear. I think that's a myth. I think habits take like 6 months to form. I honestly, I don't think 66 days is enough, but whatever. Let's say it takes 66 days to form a habit. They can start now and they can kind of roll in with a good 45-day start, right, onto 2021. How do you recommend they start, Kris Shook?
Well, take away everything that you guys are hearing today and get that routine put in place, right? Get a schedule put in place. Make sure that you are setting whatever your perfect day is. And I don't know how much anyone follows what's going on in the world today, or what these economists are saying, or what the messages are out there. But I'm a firm believer that we have about 14 months left in a really strong real estate market. I think that the streets are paved with gold by the next 14 months. And if you don't take the opportunity to get your structure, your routine down today, you're going to miss out on probably one of the best opportunities. And everyone on the call here has been doing this for a long time. I've been in the poor of the poorest markets, right? I've been in the 08, the 09. I remember how painful that was. And I told myself, if I got out of that, I would never be in that same place again. And not to say that we'll be back in an 08 or 09, but we're going to have a shift in the market. So don't be that person that waits till 2021 or at the end of 2021 or 2022 and go, gosh, I wish I would have taken advantage of that market, because it's going to be gone before you guys know it. So get the routine down, get your schedule down, make it a habit every single day to be contacting people. We have a theme day in our business. Monday through Friday, we have a theme day that we follow every single day that we use for our lead generation. So I have what I call my perfect day, or as a tracker I could share with people. I'll share it with you if you want to send it out.
Absolutely.
But that would be my advice.
That's great. What are your themes really quick?
So Monday is what we call VIPs. I call business people that refer me business. They could be CPAs, attorneys, they could be financial advisors, lenders, whatever it is. There are what I call my top 50 VIPs that I connect with on a monthly basis. On Tuesdays are status updates. That's when I call all of my people that I have on contract that are in escrow, whether it's an active listing or somebody in escrow. That's when I do my follow-ups. And at that point, I find something good about what is going on in their situation, and then I earn the right to ask for a referral from them. Number 3 is Wednesday. That's our hot days and our cold leads. So we call our hots first, people that are within 0 to 90 days of getting into contract with something with us. And we start to call our nurturers or old leads that day. Thursdays, I call my past clients. My goal is to get 1 referral per past client. And so I do something where I add value, stay in contact with my past clients. Right now, there's been a lot of, with everything that's going on, there's great reasons to be calling your past clients right now. And then Friday is going out and trying to find new business where I'm trying to build different relationships with maybe a builder or other CPAs or those types of things. So that's where more of a cold calling day is on Friday.
Awesome. Well, we've gone a little bit over, but I do want to give Richard and Leann a chance to kind of end with last words, how you think agents should get started doing this.
I mean, for me, and then Richard, cut me off too if you want to jump in on this, or you do start dancing, whatever. For me, it's if you are expecting to get paid like you're working at a job, then why don't you just put in your 8 hours? Like, I don't care what you do at that 8 hours, but if you look at Kris and Richard right now, they are working in a work environment. There's not a TV on in the background. They don't have a pile of laundry as far as I can see. You guys might be hidden. There's not a pile of laundry that they need.
I was waiting for it, Leann. Just do them up.
They're not walking to the kitchen every 15 seconds. Like, stop it. Go to work. Go to your job, because if you want to own your own business, you have to first treat it like a job. So for me, I really don't care what you do. If you sit in 4 white walls for 8 hours just thinking about what you might do in your real estate business, I guarantee that you're doing more than if you're flicking on the TV every 2 seconds to figure out what's going on in the news or whatever. So first treat it like a job. Go to work. And then the second thing is that get your environment ready. So if you feel like you cannot work at home, there is still a way to quarantine and empty offices. I promise you, I have empty offices right now. Commercial businesses are freaking out because people are not coming into their office. You can quarantine in your own space. I do. I have no doors. Nobody's around me at any time. And we talk through windows sometimes, but that's it. I'm quarantined. So get to work. I'm going to say that just passionately because I get mad about it.
Yeah, these are not snow days, as Ben always says.
It's not a snow day. Go to work.
Richard, I think you get the last word, my friend.
Thank you. Well, you guys, Kris and Leann, kind of took my things. I was just going to mention something.
Thunder.
What's that?
Steal your thunder.
Yeah. Well, we can just edit this when we broadcast. It'll be fine. Right. I was listening to my favorite podcast the other day, Empire Builders. I don't know have you guys heard this podcast?
Yes.
I don't know.
They're my favorite today, Richard.
But you guys had Ellen Curtis on, and I don't really know Ellen very well, but she said something interesting that I think we're not saying enough to ourselves, which is exactly what you said, Leann. She said that she started off by working 6 days every 5 days, something like that. Though she phrased it really nicely. And I think, yeah, if the question is, what do you do if you're starting off? You're not the master of your own time. You're going to have to put in some volume of hours. And by the way, if you had a real job, you're going to work a lot more hours and be a lot more uncomfortable. Every time my agents complain about the monotony of making phone calls, what was your last real job? You're a payroll accountant. You worked at a restaurant. That's just as monotonous, more hours. I guarantee you it's worse of all the metrics you're measuring it on. So that was part of it. The other thing that we're doing on my team is we're going through our databases top to bottom before Thanksgiving. And then after, starting the new year. So January 4th, we call everyone in our database, call, text, email. I stole that from Ben from his 10 Days of Pain. And then we're doing it now, finishing up by the end of this week. You guys can still do that. Reorganize our database. Our team members are going down to like 600 to 800 contacts in their private section of the database, just going really deep on those people. I think Kris is right. I think you have a lot of opportunity right now. There's a high number of sales. And from what I can tell in my marketplace, the number of agents is relatively lower, that agents have left the marketplace or are leaving. So those are all my answers. You guys took my good stuff. So thanks, Kris and Leann.
We are 5 after the hour. We got started a little late, so that's okay. We ended a little late, but I got so much out of today. And what Ellen Curtis said, she said exactly what Kobe Bryant said, which is that over time you cannot make up. Like when someone puts in one extra day, that ends up being, what is it? There's 52, 35 or 40 extra days a year. And over 3 to 5 years, it's impossible to make that up. That's what Kobe Bryant used to say and do with his practice, right? And it's that 1% better, and it's spending time doing something even when you're not seeing instant results. So what I'm excited about is for all of you guys who watch and listen to this, interact with us. Let us know if you've implemented any of this, what's working, what's not working, and let's stay active together, because I think that, you know, that's how community works. We can kind of build each other up. There's a comments on the Pivot Shift Ahead page. I check them often. Hopefully these guys will too. We can answer any questions, and we'll definitely, as always, email out all the resources we talked about today. So thank you guys so much. Leann Harris, Richard Schulman, Kris Shook, we really appreciate you taking an hour out of your very time block days. And we hope that all of you will join us on Tuesday at 11 for a very, very special webinar next week, leading into Thanksgiving week, celebrating, you know, inspiration and humanity, which I think we all need right now. All right, guys, have a great day.